One of the biggest destroyers of relationships is not knowing how to deal with conflicts or disagreements in a mature way when they come up. But let's face it, no one likes to deal with conflict. And unfortunately, it's part of the package. If you're in a relationship, it's going to come up. But it's also where our personal growth is. It's also how a relationship can deepen and go to that next level. So it's something we don't want to avoid. A relationship without any conflict at all is just a superficial, unsatisfying friendship, I guess, with benefits maybe. Neither partner is truly being themselves, so you're in a relationship with half a person. Nobody enjoys dealing with conflict or challenging conversations, even if you're in a conscious relationship. It's going to be difficult, but it's something you can nurture in your relationship. It may not start off in this kind of mature way, but if both parties are like-minded and want to do their best for the harmony of the relationship and the growth of the relationship, then learning how to deal with conflict can totally shift and deepen your connection. Welcome to Ready for Authentic Love on Awakening Airwaves. My name is Gwen Allison. I'm a Reiki master teacher and a transformational life coach. So if you want to navigate conflict in a more conscious way, the first thing you need to do is become aware of your conflict style. This is a conversation you can totally have with your partner, or you can take some time to reflect on this by yourself. But in the end, you both need to understand how you deal with conflict, what your styles are. So you begin by looking at how you would traditionally deal with problems, challenges, arguments, any kind of conflict in any relationship, not just a love relationship. Some people, their MO is to start shouting, getting angry. Some people, it's storming off. Some people find themselves freezing and they don't say anything at all. Or you may be someone who avoids conflict or disagreements with your partner just to keep the peace. So we're going to look at all these different styles, and I'm also going to give you some spiritual ways of dealing with conflict, which are really powerful as well, including Reiki and law of attraction. But yeah, if you're someone who is a bit of a hothead, a bit hot-headed, quick to anger in any kind of argument, and your mode of operation is to shout and maybe swear, then it's important to look at this during the peaceful times and see where it's coming from. So ask yourself, where did you learn to adopt this pattern of behavior during a conflict? Is it what you saw growing up? Did your parents or primary caregivers deal with conflict in this way? Is it something that you did at school, perhaps, maybe to defend yourself or to survive bullying? You've developed this style. Where is this style coming from? If you're quick to anger, you're causing a lot of problems in your body. Anger gets stored in the liver. Whether it's overexpressed or underexpressed, it can cause damage to the body eventually. So we do need to learn how to process it, how to deal with it. Also with anger, you're not really dealing with the real issue. Anger is almost masking the real problem, the real issue, because anger is not a primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion. So when you're kind of getting angry, it may not be about that moment. There might be something behind the anger. Are you not feeling heard or seen, respected or loved? All of these things can be kind of coming into that actual moment, which makes it disproportionate to what's going on. Are you bringing in pain from the past or your childhood into that argument? So really it's nothing to do with that situation in that moment. It also means when you're angry, you don't really get heard. You think you do because you're shouting loud, but being the loudest doesn't mean that anyone is actually hearing you or understanding you. So all that's happening is the person you're shouting at is going into their defense mode, maybe shouting back, or maybe they're withdrawing. But either way, you're not really resolving the actual problem, And if I'm honest, I don't really care what you blame it on, whether you blame it on your past, whether you blame it on being a particular star sign or being hot-blooded, coming from a certain country or being passionate. All these things are actually excuses. And I've seen this from my students as well. They come, they learn in Reiki, and they have this default belief that this is how I am. I'm angry. I'm an angry person because of this, and this. And then when they do the work and they do their self-Reiki, they come back for Reiki 2 and they're like, no, I'm so much calmer now. even if it turned out to be hormonal, the daily Reiki will kind of calm that down. So I'm saying this to say that doesn't have to be who you are forever. If you're an angry person, you can work on that. All of these things are really excuses. But once you know where it's coming from, you can start to do something about it. And this is self-work that you do have to do. And that self-work will help you both in your relationship, not just you. Decide in advance what you're going to do when you're triggered, what you're going to do when you get angry, when you feel that anger building up in you. Yeah? Are you going to breathe? Take a few deep breaths. Are you going to go for a walk or go for a run? Are you going to scream into a pillow? Some people hit a pillow, but I wouldn't advise that. The Buddhists believe you're actually practicing hitting. So when someone makes you angry, that's going to be your go-to thing. So you don't want to hit the pillow, but you might want to scream into the pillow. You might want to count to 10. Anything that helps you get that energy out of your body, that explosive energy out. And then it leaves a void for you to kind of work with that energy. You may want to journal. Sometimes when you see what you're angry about, you get a different perspective. You start to calm down. You may still want to honor your anger when you've done these things, but you need to kind of know what you're going to do when you're next triggered. And when I say honor your anger, you may still want to say something, but now you've taken the charge away. You're able to have a conversation in a way that you'll be heard, you know? And even if you do things in between, you know, so you don't want to wait till you're angry to then decide to go to this thing you thought you were going to go to, this way of moving through it. Our daily work also means that we're less angry. So we're working on the anger before we get angry on a daily basis, whether it's a Reiki or breath work, yoga, it could be anything that you do that helps you. And you might find you need different things. So sometimes one thing works, and on another occasion, you try and go to that thing when you're triggered and it doesn't work. But don't give up. Keep trying different things. Decide in advance what you're going to do when this person says this and triggers you. And then your subconscious kind of is already rehearsing that, and you find you do kind of go to it. It's helpful to let your partner know that this is something that you're working on so they can support you, they can give you grace. Hopefully they don't weaponize it against you. You don't want that. But they need to understand that you're trying to do this work. You're trying to work on yourself in this way, and just keep trying. And hopefully if they're not handling conflict in a good way, hopefully they're also doing the same thing, working on that, and you're working on that together. But you'll feel so much better through this work because you won't say things you regret. You won't say things you don't actually mean, or things you're just saying to really hurt the person. We kind of really pull out the strong, the worst things we can think of sometimes when we're really angry. But yeah, if your way of dealing with conflict is to get really angry and shout, then there's some things that you can look at. If your way of dealing with conflict is to walk away, storm off, then again, we need to find out why you're doing that. It could be because the person who you're in conflict with at the moment, in an argument with at the moment, is being too aggressive and you need to walk away. Perfectly fine. It could be just because you're backed into a corner and you need that freedom to think, you know? It might take you time to process things. That's kind of sometimes what I need. I need to walk away from something just to think it over. In the moment, I'm kind of in freeze mode and I'm not taking in what's being said to me. And these are all fine, as long as it's not done in this kind of dramatic, angry way, you know, it's kind of fine. But it's important for your partner to understand that this is what you do and this is why, because some people can be triggered. Their fear of abandonment can be triggered by that action of you walking away. And so if when things are quiet and calm down during loving times of the relationship, you have a conversation about how you typically deal with conflict, and you allow them to also share with you, then they understand that when you're walking away, it's not really about them so much, it's you wanting to calm down and self-regulate, come back into balance. And then when you're calmer, you can come back into that sort of conversation in a calmer way. Hopefully you're both calmer. So it's literally about you needing space to think and breathe and calm down before you can kind of carry on or process what's happened. And regardless of your style, whether you walk away or whether you stay in it and shout or whatever, when you've tried these things to calm down, when you do return to have that conversation with each other, we want to make sure it's not full of blame, because that is just going to get the other person's defenses up. You're not going to get anywhere. The purpose of that conversation is to seek to understand each other, which is a whole different energy. You'll keep the conversation relevant in this way, relevant to what's happened, rather than bringing up all sorts of things and dragging up everything from the past. And avoid language like you always, you never. These things tarnish the whole person's personality, and again, it's going to get their back up. It's going to make things worse. So there are some sort of practical coaching style ways of dealing with conflict that can apply to everybody. But there are also some spiritual and energetic ways to deal with conflict that we're going to go through now. So one of the things you can do is use the law of attraction. There's a law of attraction process called positive aspects, and I really like this process. It works so well for me. Obviously, think about it. When you feel someone's done something wrong, your partner's done something wrong, we just focus on that wrongness. We focus on the thing, we ruminate over it, we create stories around it. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The law of attraction says that when we think a thought, another similar thought joins it after 17 seconds. And so we're just compounding that issue, that problem. People can only show up the way we expect them to show up. So that person is only sort of feeling that negative energy, really. So they're not shifting and changing. But with this work, you don't even need to have a conversation. The work is all our work to do. And what you're doing is you're grabbing your journal, your piece of paper, and you're just writing out all the positive things you can think of about that person. Even if it's just 3 things, it's going to powerfully shift the energy. But you can normally find a lot more, I'm hoping, if you're in a relationship with this person. And we're not talking about abusive relationships or anything like that. This is completely out of scope for this conversation. But if you're in a relationship, there's going to be some good things, not just this argument. So you're just going to write down the things that kind of come to you. This is something, as I said, I do with my partner when he really if he winds me up about something, I'm annoyed at him. I don't even need to tell him too much about that. I can actually do this work, write down all the positive things. He's kind, he's gentle, he's this, he's that, all the things kind of go in there. By the end of that journaling, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm also seeing a different perspective around things. I'm also understanding my part in this argument or conflict. But I'm feeling really buoyant, really good. It's as if my upset about him was surrounding him in this energy, which he also couldn't see past or see through. And as soon as I change my perspective about him and go back to the truth, we all have different facets, to our personality and our character. And as soon as I choose to see a different aspect of him, that sort of negative energy that I'm surrounding him with just dissolves, and he's able to come to me differently. I'm able to come to him differently as well. So this is really powerful, and it doesn't just have to be about your love partner. You can do this for anyone that you're kind of feeling a really strong sort of negative charge about, you're kind of not feeling, but you want to make things better. That there has to be that wanting. It can't really be forced. But you just write these things down. As I said, for me, it works instantly. I find that nowadays we're manifesting really fast. This works fast for me, but you might find that you have to read what you've written about your person, maybe for 7 days or something like that, every day for 7 days. And you are conjuring up this beautiful energy that's between you now, surrounding you now, and everything can shift. And then you can have a conversation in this kind of calm of the relationship, as opposed to forcing your views and your will and your point across, So the law of attraction, positive aspects, that's a great thing to try. Another thing you can try if you're attuned to Reiki, especially Reiki 2, is the second Reiki symbol, Seheki. The second Reiki symbol is the harmony symbol, and that's all about bringing harmony between our heart and our mind. And so our heart knows the truth of who we are, that we're enough, that we're worthy, that we are loved. And it also knows that about them. But the mind can get in the way with the limiting beliefs, the fears, the self-doubt, and we create this whole new story. And so we're moving further and further away from the truth, from our light. And so with the second symbol, it's all about dissolving all of that and just kind of buoying up our inner key, our life force, our energy, raising our internal vibration. And, you know, what I tend to do with this symbol is I see myself and my partner together and I see this symbol above us. And I do that after my self-Reiki. I move into gratitude for, you know, everybody around me, me and my daughter, me and my partner, and I see that symbol surrounding us. You could totally just focus on the symbol, the Seheki symbol, with the intention of just soothing the relationship or seeing a different aspect or seeing the truth, you know, and you'll be shown that. You'll be shown a different side to the argument that you hadn't considered before. You could chant the name of the symbol just repeatedly if you want to. That has its own energy. Or you could chant the Kota Dharma, which is the soul word, the spirit word, the energy of the word of the symbol. And I'll make sure there's a link to that chanting in the description so you can have a little look there. But anything like that around that symbol is going to open your heart. Seheki is about that, opening the heart, opening the throat chakra, the third eye, you know, so it's all about creating a whole different energy around that relationship. So it's such a beautiful symbol to work with. So Seheki. And then the other thing you can do, I think I've mentioned it in other videos as well, is Ho'oponopono. So Ho'oponopono is a traditional Hawaiian prayer that is said to shift and change and delete anything that isn't serving us in our energy, in our lifetime, in ancestral lifetimes. And all you have to do is keep repeating it. And the words are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you keep repeating that. And you're not necessarily saying it to them. A lot of people get hung up on that. You're saying it to your higher self for forgetting who you truly are, forgetting who they truly are as well. But you just keep repeating that. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You can say it out loud, you can say it in your mind, you can write it. But that starts to soothe and soften the energy. I use this one more in the moment. So if, you know, I'm having a conversation with my partner, it's starting to go a little bit kind of left field, then I'll start saying this in my mind and it just softens everything. It softens me, softens him. And then we don't sort of collide in any way. You know, I'm heard, he's heard. So it's a really nice one to do in the moment as well as outside of the moment. So they're the three spiritual things I'd like to share. But obviously doing our daily Reiki, guys, is medicine for us, for our soul, for our heart, for our mind. And so we will find that we're not so easily triggered. We'll be shown when we're doing our self-Reiki, even if we're not thinking about it, it might just drop in this different perspective, this different idea about the conflict we're holding on to. But if we set our intention to see that, feel that, before we go into our self-Reiki, then we let that intention go, then we'll be shown. So your daily self-Reiki helps to keep your vibration high, manage your energy, and it just stops you from being triggered so easily. So we want to be doing work before this happens, as well as understanding what we can do in the moment. But you want to be, you know, working on the conflict in a way, or working on how you are in conflict or the energy of the relationship before it becomes before you come to a conflict, put it that way. So I've shared a few things that can help you navigate conflict in your relationship. So first of all, understand your conflict style, understand where it's coming from, and decide what you want to shift about that. Share that with your partner, find out about their conflict style, where that's come from, so you know how to navigate in a disagreement. Decide together on how you're going to deal with conflict, and also have some spiritual, energetic ways that you can do to work on that. So you have the Reiki symbol, the Seheki, the second Reiki symbol. You have the positive aspects, which is so, honestly, it's powerful, guys. Try it. Let me know in the comments how you find it. And you have Ho'oponopono. So when we're intentional about how we deal with conflict in our relationships, this begins to create a safe space for both of you to bring up anything that's bothering you, anything you'd like to be different or anything that you're unhappy with, you now know that you're not going to be judged or blamed when you bring that to the other person. You'll know that you're both going to be heard, and this allows you both to share more deeply, and it will bring you so much closer. It will deepen your connection and build trust. So it's totally worth going through. It's totally worth having conflict in a relationship. It isn't always a bad thing. But just to be honest, be fully transparent, dealing with conflict doesn't get better and better, if that makes sense. The conflict itself is always difficult. And even more so when you're both elevated in this way, because when you're not just throwing insults at each other or shouting at each other and you're speaking the truth, that can be harder to deal with, because the person speaking from their heart, that's just crazy. That's going to challenge you even more in a way, but you'll get to a deeper truth that you're not going to get to if you're just shouting or avoiding arguments. So every conversation, every challenging conversation, I could say, it can be difficult. I want you to understand that that's the case, but the reward is totally worth it. So yeah, I hope you find this useful. Please remember to subscribe, share, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you do in conflict, what's worked for you with your partner, when you've gone through a difficult time. But yeah, I hope you found it useful. I look forward to looking at what you put in the comments. But until next time, stay open, stay grounded, stay true to your heart. Thank you.